So how'd you get started playing back in Oz?
Well, I was always a league player when I started. It's just like where I grew up in Clovelly. We all my mates played for the local rugby league team, the Clovelly Crocodiles. So we all started out there, and then Union really started when I got into high school at Waverley College there.
And how was that switching over?
Um, it was pretty easy, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a pretty similar game for those that know rugby league and rugby union. Yeah, well, it was a couple years where I was doing Saturday rugby union, Sunday rugby league. Back then, when the body could take all that, no worries.
Yeah, it's funny when you're younger, you just recover like that, don't you?
Jeez, you'd walk in on a Monday and you'd be ready to go again. Nowadays, you walk in on a Monday and you'd be barely walking.
Yeah, for sure. And so you played throughout high school, and then was it right after high school you headed off to Lindenwood?
Yep. So I finished up school 2013, and then I was training with the Waratahs under 20s for a little bit, but I didn't get picked up in the final squad there, and it was I can't even remember how Lindenwood came across the table. It popped. There was a player that I played with from high school that went over, and I saw he was having a blast, and I think I hit him up and he got onto the coaches, and within a couple of weeks, me and another fella, Tom, that you've met, we were on the plane over.
That's a nice one. And so you were training with the Waratahs, like were you involved with 18s, or was that kind of your first?
Straight into the under 20s. We were with them through the summer sort of, and then so the summer, the end of the year in Australia, and I just didn't get picked up in the final squad, so I would have had to go to university in Aussie, or this thing popped up, and I was like, "Yep, that's me."
Yeah, just what was the thoughts? Just want to go see something different, try something out.
Yeah, well, I think the way the rugby seasons work in Aussie, I wouldn't have been able to play rugby for at least 6 months. And I only ended up doing the one semester in Lindenwood. So I thought it was a perfect time to do it. And then what was the cherry on top was Tom actually getting the same scholarship as me. So we were like, yep, let's go.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of Aussie lads probably when you were there as well, were there?
Yeah. I actually didn't know the guys that were joining, but after 3 months there, you would know. You'd be best mates with them.
Yeah. And were you playing 10 back then?
I was 10, yeah.
How's that?
It was good. I was probably a greedy 10. Wasn't a great passer. I wasn't a great kicker. So I just used to tuck it under and run mostly. That's probably why I'm out on the wing now.
Yeah. And so why'd you spend a semester there? Didn't you head off to Spain after it?
Yeah, it was a strange one. I went from university there in Lindenwood. I went back home and played for my club Randwick for a season. We ended up winning the comp that year, but at the end of the year, a coach that was at Randwick, Wade Kelly, used to coach a few very good teams in Australia and through the Scots rugby system. He was heading over to coach in Spain, and he had a player drop out last minute, and he needed a fullback to go over. And I was playing well at the time, I guess. And yeah, he hit me up and was like, would it be something you're interested in? And literally I was on the plane in five days later, got over there, was just on the tourist visa, trying to sort out like everything to get me cleared to play. And it was a very good experience.
That's sick. And so Randwick, was that like, I know a bit about Australia club footy, but is that like, were you playing Prems, or what was the comp you were in there?
Yeah, so it's the Shoot Shield. It's sort of like, it's like the feeder club, the feeder comp for Super Rugby there. So for the Waratahs, all the Waratahs players that are maybe just on the fringe would be playing Shoot Shield. So it's a very tough competition.
Yeah. And did you like when you were, say, leaving high school, getting involved with the TAS 20s, that you'd like want to play rugby full time?
Yeah, I don't know. I was never like completely committed to playing rugby full time. I was always working, doing other stuff on the side. I was always had intentions of doing a degree, which I'm actually still doing 8 years later. I'll get there. And yeah, I don't know. It just like with these rugby, the way my rugby career worked, I just took my chances as they came, sort of. I just took the opportunities that were given to me, and it sort of it worked out for me.
Yeah. And so when you were back, like Randwick playing Prems, is that like you get, it's not like not professional or the shoot shield, like match fees or?
I think some players would get match fees. Randwick have a really good system with a university there, so you'd be able to stay in the dorms for free, or you'd get some discounted university fees or whatever it was.
Okay, because I've heard a ton about that club. Is Eddie Jones, Cheka,
Yeah,
like
very famous. Churned out wallabies, countless wallabies. We like when I was at Randwick, we had 4 or 5 English fellas, a few Irish lads come through and play because it's the off season for the rugby over here. So they'd shoot over to Aussie, and I guess Randwick's an appealing club because we're both based in Coogee Beach. You're literally playing on the water.
Yeah, nice. And then Spain, how was that? I suppose pretty random, you know. Did you ever think you'd be going heading to play rugby in Spain?
I actually didn't even know there was a professional setup in Spain at the time, and I was only 19 when I was there, but it was surprisingly difficult. I thought, like, everyone thinks of Spain, you think of soccer, and when I got there, the team I played for was Odisea Rugby. It's just outside of San Sebastian, so it's a hell of a spot. And yeah, I didn't think that the quality of rugby would be so high. I was shocked by it. And our team, we had maybe 4 or 5 international players. So we had we had a Samoan fella, we had me, we had 3 or 4 South African guys that were there. And yeah, it was surprisingly difficult.
Yeah, so is that like a Spain Premier, like top league? And so you're traveling all around Spain?
Yeah, so the league's called Division de Honor, and it's their top league. So it's a pro league now, and we played all over. We played. I remember looking at the fixtures and seeing we're versing FC Barcelona, and I was like, oh, same logo and everything. Same.
Yeah.
So we versed Barcelona. We went to Burgos, which is like down in the south. Most of the teams we versed were along the west coast there. But yeah, you got to travel all over. Madrid, we played in a couple of times.
That's sick. And so what was this setup like? Like were the 4 or 5 of you like full time?
Yeah, it was I think it was sort of split through the middle. Most, like, all the local boys would be full-time workers.
Yeah.
And then come and play. And we only had the 5 or 6 of us who were contracted players, but we were full-time, and we had Wade there who was a full-time coach. So we were training like every day, every morning. They put us up in accommodation, and we'd get paid all right, enough to get by. But it was more the experience that I think everyone sort of signed up for there.
Yeah, that's pretty sick at 19 though. Like, yeah, going over and like you're a full-time rugby player.
Yeah, that's I think that's how Wade actually got me hooked on it.
Yeah, don't need to work back home, come over, travel around Spain, and everything looked after.
Yeah, imagine saying no to that.
Yeah. And so how long did you spend there?
I just did the one season, so it was from like August to August. Yeah, so I think our season finished in June, which is European summer over here, and then I had some of my best mates from Australia coming over, so I just stayed in Europe for an extra couple months and enjoyed that.
Yeah, nice one.
Spent all the money I made, lost it all.
And then what was the plan after? Did you just decide to that like that was cool, enjoyed it, but go back home?
Yeah, I was never going to re-sign there. Um, so I headed back home because I did take a year off doing any sort of study. So I thought I'd better try and get back into that. And I was playing. What happened was a guy that the university I go to, UTS, University of Technology in Sydney, a guy there contacted me about playing a university games sevens tournament, which is just like it's a bit of a, like you're drinking more than you're playing rugby sort of thing. And it was in Perth. So I was like, geez, I'll go to that. Why not? Went over for the week and our team ended up winning it. But like the standard was all right, but we still had to verse some pretty good teams in the end. But we won that. And then I think I got named in the Australian university schools team or something. And we played a tournament in Adelaide. And that was versing New South Wales, versing Queensland, ACT, all the professional sort of sevens teams. And we ended up winning it. Yeah, we ended up coming second, but we were long outsiders. We were not even supposed to make it through the pools. And we ended up coming second to Queensland. But I got player of the tournament, and that's where Andy Friend, who was coach of the Australian sevens team at the time, actually saw me play for the first time and invited me to come down to training with the sevens team. Yeah.
Sick. So how many sevens comps had you played, kind of?
2. And one was the university games in Perth where we were drinking beers before the game.
Wow, that's mad. So you just went back to like go to school and you were just like, I'll play a bit of rugby on as well as.
That's it.
Yeah, sick. And so then how's that? So you got like a trial, was it, with the Aussie sevens?
Yeah. So the way that the season was working, it was, so that tournament that I got invited to train with after, it was the start of the sevens season, the professional sevens season and the series. And the team was going to Dubai the next week. And they had an invitational team that play in the invitational comp there. I don't know if you've seen it. That's a massive comp, played just outside the main grounds. And there's some good quality there. Like most of the teams take their reserve players to just play in that to get some match fitness and stuff. So I got invited to go with Tribe, a team that are based in Queensland, but they're all the Australian sevens leftover sort of guys. So we went and we won the comp there. And then I played another couple tournaments and I got offered the professional contract. So I signed that straight away.
So then it was like, see you university again.
Yeah, basically. Seriously. That's why I'm still here 8 years later.
Yeah, nice. And that's sick. So with the professional sevens, you say like the Brumbies, all that, is there like sevens comp? Like, can you get paid playing sevens outside of the Aussie team?
I don't getting paid. Yeah, it's you wouldn't be on a contract for those. This is my guess, unless it's something small or short term. But the teams were made up of, so there was like a New South Wales Waratahs, a Queensland, a ACT team. I think there might have even been a Northern Territory team. There was an Indigenous team in Australia as well. And I think it's these sort of teams are made up of players that are pursuing a sevens career, particularly not a 15s career or anything like that. I don't think they're paid. I'd say they'd get like free travel and accommodation for the tournaments.
Yeah. Because I just remember like when I left Ireland like 6 years ago, there was no sevens really. There's like 1 or 2 competitions during the summer, but it sounds like the competitions where you're drinking beer, it's not that serious.
I've heard about the Irish ones, yeah.
Yeah. And so did you travel a bit with the tribe or with other teams before you were kind of fully on the series?
Yeah, so I was, the first time I signed with the Australian sevens team professionally was from 2017. So most of the end of 2016, I was with Tribe and traveling. And even during that first season of sevens in 2017, I was still with Tribe because I couldn't break into the main team at the time. So I was still traveling with them, and we got some very good tournaments in. We played in Borneo, in Indonesia, Malaysia. We played in the Dubai trip was probably the highlight one. We played in Las Vegas as well, where we won that comp as well. Those were the three biggest ones that we got to go on with Tribe.
Nice. And so you were full time at that time training with Aussie Sevens. You're a full time sevens player.
Yeah. So the sevens program would organize your flights and stuff, and then you'd link up with the Tribe team. And by that time, most of the team were made up of contracted sevens players, filtered in with a few club players that were aspiring to make it up to the professional sort of level.
Nice one. And then you're saying 2017, but was it pretty quickly then you broke into the Aussie Sevens, and were you nominated for World Player of the Year in that first year?
That was next year, yeah. So it was 2017 was when I first signed. I went that first whole season. I couldn't get into the team. The team were very good at the time, and I was just lucky that a few guys moved on to Super Rugby contracts and moved out of the team. So a few spots opened up, and I got a start. And it was that 2018 season, which was my first season, that I was nominated for Player of the Year. Yeah, out of nowhere.
How was that, like stepping onto the world stage?
Yeah, I was scary. I can still remember my first game was in Dubai. We were versing Wales, and I hadn't actually started many sevens games before. So I was usually coming off the bench, and Friendy started me for this first one, and I was like, oh geez. It was first play, first setup, first game, first kickoff. Our captain at the time, James Stannard, kicked off and was like, you chase this one. Kicked off, and I just jumped it, landed perfectly, and then I was like, geez, all right, I'm here. I can do this. Like,
yeah, nice one. So like straight up, you just got into the game, and then you're just like, all right, all good.
That was it. And what I really struggled with the first year was my fitness. The game is so fast, sevens compared to 15s and anything like that. So it did take a year and a half to even get up to speed to survive the 14 minutes of a game, basically. So that's what I think helped me the most, getting into the professional setup.
Yeah. And even with like training and that, was it still, once you're just playing, it was a big step up fitness wise?
Oh, every game. You'd think after doing it for so many years, training so much harder, you get to a game and it'd be easy. Every game you are on your haunches.
Yeah. And how was traveling around on the circuit? How'd you enjoy that?
It is a very cool experience. You get to see some pretty cool spots, make some pretty good contacts and relationships all over the world there.
What was your favorite spot?
I think the best to play in would be Hong Kong by far. I was lucky that the year before, when I was still with Tribe, I got to go to Hong Kong and play with the classic Wallabies team. So it was made up of Wallabies that I'd watched growing up. You had, I think our coach was Justin Harrison at the time. We had Wendell Saylor playing, Morgan Turinui, Pat Phipps. We had Stephen Hoyles all playing in this team, like Wallaby legends. And then a few of us young sevens players that were thrown in there to do all the running, basically, and make all their tackles.
Yeah, that's sick. And how quickly did you feel like that you were all good at that level, like playing on the series? Like, you know, first game, you're nervous, but then...
Yeah, it's, I don't know, like I was like, we had a few lead up tournaments before my actual debut, and we were versing like some international teams. So we played, I think the three lead up tournaments to my debut, we were in San Jose in America, and we won the comp, and we had versed the national American team. Fiji had a team there, and we played well and beaten them, and just being able to experience playing against the pros that have been doing it for years. And then we also had a tournament in Oktoberfest in Munich, which nice. We also won, which was ridiculous. We had some of the best teams in the world there, like England, and even a team that was surprisingly good, Chile, played, and they were very good. But that was probably what helped me the most, I think, those two lead-up tournaments, knowing that like it was sort of like it's literally a trial run before everyone's watching you, because no one really knew about these tournaments. So you sort of got through those and thought, oh, geez, like I think I'll be all right on the main stage here.
Yeah, nice one. And what was the toughest team you played on the series?
I'd say New Zealand, the All Black Sevens. They've got everything. They had speed. They're smart. They've got better feet. They're faster, somehow bigger and somehow fitter. Don't know how, but they were more of a relentless sort of team. You knew you weren't going to win by much, and if you lost, you were probably just going to lose. They were always tight and tough games. And then obviously versing Fiji is a different story. You sort of think you've finally made the best tackle of your life on a Fijian fella, and then you look up and the other guy's running under the post and scoring.
Yeah, some of their offloading is absolutely ridiculous, especially in the sevens game.
Oh, they are unrivaled.
Yeah. And was it like year to year when you're in the sevens? Is it like 1 year contracts? Are you going like year to year, just taking as it comes?
Yeah, I think my first one was a 1 year contract. And then that first year I played, I got named for player of the year. So I actually signed a 2 year from there. But yes, some players will sign a couple year deals. I think a lot of the time they're shorter deals. You don't really hear of a big 3 year sort of deal being made.
Yeah. And then, so what, Friendy was there and then he left the year before and then brought you over to Connacht?
He was there, he left 2019, I think. And then I still had another year with the sevens, which I got through. And then I was coming off contract, and we were talking about I was ready to move into 15s, and it just lined up perfectly that Friendy needed a back to come over to Connacht here, and it was as easy as that. I just took the next opportunity that came.
Yeah, nice one. And when you say like you're ready to move to 15s, why was that?
I think sevens at the time, I'd just gone through an injury with my knee. I just tore my ACL, so I was still coming back from that, and I'd always wanted to get back into 15s at some stage, and I think this was just the time. I'd say with sevens, like I say, it's a young man's game because it's a lot of traveling and it's tough on the body, but there are still the older fellas out there that have been doing it for years. No worries. I think, yeah, it was just time for me to move back into 15s.
Yeah. And how have you found that?
It was harder than I thought to start with. They're completely different games. The whole tactics behind it, the whole fitness, your strength, everything is completely different. Even your skill set changes completely. In 3 years of sevens, I never need to kick a ball. I barely needed to hit a ruck.
Yeah.
And I was having to make tackles in a lot of space. That changed pretty quickly when you come into 15s. You're having to run into 320 kilo blokes, and you'd have to kick. You'd have to hit rucks, which aren't fun.
And yeah, a lot of emphasis probably on defense as well, compared to what you'd be used to even like growing up playing 15s.
Yeah, 100%. Especially over here,
Yeah.
Northern Hemisphere. Even I'd say it'd be a very different game compared to back home in Australia, tactics wise and everything.
And do you play any AIL or anything, or have you just been with Connacht?
Just with Connacht, yeah. I'm not sure if this is right, but I actually don't think I'm allowed to play any AIL or anything.
Oh, are
As
you
an official player, yeah, I'm not
Oh,
sure.
you're not. I would say with the name like O'Donnell, I thought there'd be some Irish in there somewhere. But
I thought as well, we were digging through it because it was supposed to help the visa situation and everything, but I missed out by one generation. It was great grandma that was the Irish one from Donegal.
oh, okay. So if it's a grandparent, you qualify.
Yeah, that's it. So we were one off.
Oh, right, yeah. And how have you been finding Galway besides that?
Yeah, good mate. Always unreal. I'd say you get 8 seasons of weather in one day, in 1 hour, basically. But the city is unbelievable. I'd say if it had the climate year round, it'd be one of the most popular European cities in the world. But it's almost a good thing it doesn't have that climate, because you still got like that quiet sort of homier feel in the city.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing with Ireland. Yeah, if you got the weather, but as you say, it could be sunny and then it's wind and rain and hail.
Actually.
Yeah. And what you get up to outside of rugby there?
I love playing golf. Like, I'm a big golfer. Although haven't played for about 3 months because of the bloody winter over here. You can barely hold a club, or you can barely get out on the course because it piss and rain. And then studying. Basically, that's what I've been trying to do, trying to catch up over here.
And so are you doing online through the university back in Oz, is it?
Yeah. So it's just they're actually really accommodating UTS. They've got a elite athlete program that I'm a member of. So they've been able to like allow me to sort of study at my own pace, sort of thing, which has been ideal for here.
Yeah, nice one. And do a few of the other boys in the team play golf?
There are a few golfers in the team, few good, few not so good.
Who's one the good and one the not so good?
The best would be Shane Bolton, the new South African. He's Irish qualified, but a South African fellow that's just come over. He is unbelievable. I think he was playing off 3 or 2 or 3 when he was a bit younger. And the not so good, there's a few. Gavin Thornbury, big second rower, looks like he could hit the ball a mile, but he needs to hit the ball first. And who else have we got? Tom Farrell. I've played with him.
Oh yeah.
I remember the first time we were standing on the tee, he grabbed the club and was holding it with the hurling grip, with the left hand low, right hand. I thought he was trying to take the piss. I thought he was playing. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, boy, Tommy. What's it like being coached by Andy Friend? I hear great things.
I'd say Friendy is a really good like team. What's the word? He'd be a really good, like, Friendy's coaching style is sort of based on relationships. He's really good with the team and the culture. He likes to build like relationships on the field, but also off the pitch, which I think is very beneficial for any team environment.
Yeah, 100%. And are there any things that you like do off the field to help build that, or that he's organized?
It's been tough the last year through like the COVID situation. We'd had to do meetings on. I remember when I first got here, I hadn't met anyone in person for a while because we had to do meetings online, and we were training from home. So it actually has been tough, but I think just putting together like some social gatherings and stuff for players and even staff to meet and mingle, like it's a one club sort of drive from Friendy, which is good.
That's mad. So you landed over in Galway in Ireland, and you like went to a house accommodation and it's like log on to Zoom and train in your back garden.
The first, because I got here and it was in the thick of it here, and I had to stay at the Connacht Hotel for the first 2.5 weeks, where I was doing like the isolation period. And at the time I was still rehabbing my knee, so I was FaceTiming my rehab and physio, doing exercises while they were leaning at the screen going, yeah, that looks good. And then I'd have to go run, and then I'd come back and talk to them about how the run went, and then I'd log on to a meeting, and everyone's cameras were off, thank God. There wasn't this one guy logged on with my mug there in front of everyone, but everyone's cameras off, and I was like, oh God, just in the background waiting to get, like, buzzing to get into training to actually meet people in person.
Yeah. And so how long was that? A few weeks?
Yeah, it's just 2 weeks, 2 weeks of that.
Yeah. And is all that COVID stuff kind of finished with like isolated groups? Like I remember hearing like that it was like training groups of 6 and then groups of 10, and it seemed really tough.
Yeah, that was hard at the start. At the time, I was still rehabbing, so I was with the rehab group, and we're in that smaller sort of group anyway. But I do remember the boys working through like pods and groups of 6 or something. You weren't allowed in the gym at the same time. We weren't allowed to shower at training. You had to get out, and I didn't have a car at the time either, so I was just standing out in the rain basically.
And what's it like rehabbing and that when you're in the squad? Is that tough, like being in a little rehab group when all the rest of the boys are training?
Yeah, it is tough, and most players would have gone through it at some stage. I reckon the best thing clubs do is try to keep those players in the loop a bit, because you can sort of fall out of the group a little bit. But I think it's the scheduling is the only thing that I didn't like. You're sort of scheduled on your own accord. You're not linked up with a team anymore. So you might be in on days that the guys are not in. You might be training while they're doing a meeting or something, or your gym might be at 6 o'clock in the morning while no one else is there. So you sort of, I think you just miss the social sort of side where you see everyone. But at the same time, you sort of meet new people that are also doing their rehab at the same time. And you get more personal with those sort of guys, which is cool when you finally do promote yourself and get out of that group. It's sort of a win for both of you.
Yeah, I hear you. That like, yeah, you're with the other 40 boys and then you're kind of pushed off and you'd be with the group of 6. Yeah, it could be tough.
That's it.
I wonder what could we do? Like, it seems to be common enough, but what could, I suppose, injured players could like help out in the gym or help out in training to be more involved?
Yeah, even like I'd seen injured players run drills sometimes on field while the team are doing it. I think a good one here, most of the injured players will join the unit sessions, even if they can't run or can't train, they'll at least watch on and like even help out with whatever the drill at the time is. Just so you're still in the loop, you're not missing any detail or anything, and you're keeping your skills up at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And what's been your most enjoyable period playing?
All rugby. They're all different. Like I could say Spain, like I had carefree rugby there in the sun. I could say sevens, the end of my career, end of my time at the sevens, where all the guys in the team were my best mates. We were going on, it felt like work holidays to all these exotic places. I'd say my best moment would be when we won the Sydney Sevens in 2018, just because it was our home tournament. Australia hadn't won that tournament for ever, I believe. I had family over that I hadn't seen for a while, so would have been my best weekend of rugby, I think.
Yeah, that's sick. And you say they're like playing carefree. It seems, I don't know, like you and a lot of other Aussie boys that come over to the Northern Hemisphere do play like that. But is it a bit more pressure on when you're in, I don't know, more professional environments?
What do you mean,
Like say playing
playing?
loose and carefree and just being yourself versus like, this is my role. I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta be here, I gotta do this in this play, be here in defense, play this way, versus I'm sure when you're in Lindenwood or in Spain, you're probably more doing
Yeah,
whatever you feel.
yeah. I think just because Lindenwood and Spain weren't as a professional setups as Connacht and the Sevens obviously are. You can get away with a lot more. But I also would say players that have come over here, Australians and other foreigners that have come over here and done well playing that sort of rugby. The perfect example is Mac Hansen from this year. It's not by fluke that he's come over and he can do all this freakish stuff. It's because he knows all that small detail sort of stuff, where I have to be, what I have to do here, what the next play is. When you know all that sort of stuff, he knows when he can do the flary sort of stuff. So it's a lot that goes into it before even you see the freakish offload or the chip and chase or something. He knows he can do that because he's done all the other stuff before it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, when you know all your detail and you're doing all the right things, then the opportunities present themselves to.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, put yourself in the position. You put yourself in that position because you've done A, B, C, and D.
Yeah. And going forward in your career, do you just see what opportunities come up, play it by ear, see how you go?
Yeah, it has sort of rolled out like that again because I did just sign a deal to go back to Australia. So at the end of this season, I'll be back with the ACT Brumbies.
Sick.
Which is a very cool team to be a part of. Like trying to explain it to Irish guys over here, I've been calling them the Leinster of Super Rugby over there.
Oh, that's unreal. Yeah. Congrats. Because I grew up watching like George Greig and Stephen Larkham, like the Brumbies were the team.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned Stephen Larkham because he's actually the head coach next year and he was the one that just signed me. So he's moving back from Munster assistant coach role now and heading back to coach the Brumbies next year.
Oh, unreal. Congrats. That's class.
Yeah.
And so how did that come about? Just out, like, do you have an agent or how does that move come?
I've got an agent, but I did know Stephen Larkham from Australia. He had come on a couple Sevens tours with us and worked with us before. And I think he had just heard through the windmill that my contract was up at the end of the year. And it sort of just went from there. Yeah.
Nice. So how long have you signed for over there?
It'll be a 2-year deal there.
And maybe finish school while you're at it. Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time, Ben. Been unreal chatting. A couple of quick questions. Would you give any advice to an 18-year-old, say, I don't know, leaving high school in Australia or Ireland?
I would say, like it did work out for me, but the traditional route into professional rugby, I think is really changing at the moment. You don't have to play 18s nationally. You don't have to play 20s, 21s to fall into a professional contract. You don't have to go through the sub academy, the development contract. There are other ways to do it. And I think it's changing a lot. Back years ago, that was probably the only way in. But now there's so many opportunities overseas, even at different clubs within one nation. I think just don't settle for getting told no sort of at one club. You can push yourself around and challenge yourself elsewhere.
Yeah, 100%. I fully agree with that. They're great points. And like you're saying all along, like just taking opportunities and challenging yourself a bit, like stepping up grades.
Yeah, that's it. That would be the biggest one that's worked out for me, was when I took an opportunity. Like when I was given an opportunity, I just took it and I went all in. Didn't matter what it was. It was a rugby scholarship in America or a professional setup in Spain. I took it and I went all in, and it worked out there.
Yeah, that's sick. And yeah, because it's interesting, like you say, with the traditional roots, like when I was growing up, that's what I would have seen and thought as well. But like playing with Connacht is unreal, but then the Brumbies even is more unreal for you. But yeah, there's a young lad growing up in Australia. You're playing with the Brumbies now, but look at the route, you know?
It's not, and like, it's not like it was handed to. I was rejected from the Waratahs. Like, you don't just, I don't know, you don't put your head down and sort of give up there. That's not the only way, is the best way to say it.
Yeah, it's unreal. And what's been the toughest point in your career, toughest time?
It would have been the knee injury. I tore an ACL in 2020, the start of 2020, in the lead up to the Olympics, the Tokyo Olympics.
Oh,
So I tore it, I think it was 7 months before the tournament was supposed to go on, which normal recovery time for an ACL would be 9 months minimum. And I remember speaking to the surgeon at the time, just saying, like, what are the chances, and trying to rush it through. That would have been the darkest time, knowing an injury was keeping me out of playing an Olympic Games for Australia. But other side of the coin, the tournament actually got pushed back a year because of COVID. So I didn't end up going because I signed with Connacht, but yeah, that was the hardest time, easily.
yeah. I've been there with injuries too. I understand it, but anything that helped get through it.
I don't know. I had, when I was going through this one, I had a really good group at the time at the Sevens. I had another couple guys that were going through long-term injuries, and we were all sort of on similar schedules and similar roadmaps, or sort of all looking back, like at returning at similar times. So I think that was the best part, was sort of making a little team with the other guys that were injured, and working together there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, chatting to other boys and getting through it with them versus kind of isolating yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, hey lad, thanks a mil for your time. Been unreal chatting, and really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Hey, before you go, you're not related to another? Do you have a brother?
Yeah. My younger brother.
Yeah, is he at Lindenwood now?
Yeah. He's playing 8 at the moment. So yeah, he was back home in Ireland, and then during COVID, he was like I kind of got the suss that he was playing with Lansdowne in the AIL, and I kind of got the suss he was pretty put off by COVID, and he was like and then I was like, oh, I'll put you in touch with them over there.
Why not?
Yeah, and he was in it was in like the academy in Connacht or whatever, so he's over there now loving it. Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because I saw him I was in Marbella when he was there, and we were
Yeah.
and I saw him. It wasn't him, but his mate had like split his head open.
It was him. It was him. Yeah.
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 Because he was with Colin Riley and Niall Murray, and I was with Jack Carty at the time, and we were walking through the street, and I saw them, and they were walking out of the Garda station or something. I was like, oh, fuck. And we were like, what the fuck happened? And he had the staples in his head.
Yeah, that was bleak. Yeah, I heard. You remember him telling me that, all right? Yeah, because I'm like very good friends with Jack, who played underage with him, and families know each other. So yeah, he said he bumped into you. All right, that's mad.
That is not. Yeah, because we saw it. Yeah, we were. I think it was Luke Carty's debut for the States there, and we were in Marbella, and we all watched it together there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice one.
When I saw Moylet, I was like, geez, that looks familiar there.
Yeah, that's him. All right, but yeah, he's back. He's good. He's he's a bit shook up after that, but yeah, he's all good.
How's he going over there?
He's going well. Yeah, he's going well. Like he's doing well. They're in the semi-final this week, and he wants to go MLR after, and he will.
Like,
You know,
yeah,
like that's what I was saying to as well. Like they pick a lot of college players in the States, and you know yourself the standards like okay or it's not. You know, so it's kind of easier to get out of that pool.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I remember when I was there. Like our team was pretty good that year. I was at Lindenwood. I think we were like killing it every year. Every team we pumped, and we made it to. I think we got to the final versus St. Mary's in California, and they flogged us, and we were like, "Oh, what the fuck!" Like we had flogged every team all year, then got smoked by these guys. But there was always talks of like a pro comp starting in the States when we were there, and I think like most of the team had been approached to join up with one of the teams or something. It wasn't called MLR at the time though. It was something else.
Like pro rugby,
Yeah, was it just called Pro Rugby
I
maybe?
think so.
Something like that. But I remember that's why I was like, oh, I might stay here just for that. And then thank fuck I left because that comp fell apart straight away.
Yeah, and boys didn't get paid because I know a few of the
Yeah,
lads went, and it's like they just stopped it and then stopped getting paid, and it was a bit of a shit show.
yeah. At least they've it seems they've done it right now with MLR there.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it'll keep kicking on. You know.
Well, yeah, especially like the way they've been signing players and getting massive talent over there. I just saw New York signed Waisaki Naholo.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
I think it's a couple of them. New York and LA, these just minted owners. And your man Gilchrist in LA, like Luke was telling me that the boys are in some of those Aussie boys are in like $8,000 a month apartments and stuff.
Mm. One of my best mates is living with Luke. Lindsay he like played school with me and Tomo and that. So funny, man.
That's mad. Yeah. Well, yeah, lad, thanks, Mel. Been class. I'll put this out like probably, I don't know, maybe in a couple of days or whatever. I'll tag you and all that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I might.
Oh, I can wait if you want.
Yeah,
I'll wait. I can wait for as long as you want. If you
Yeah.
if you want to wait for the contract.
Just because that Brumbies thing, I'll speak to my manager and I'll let you know. Like, it's like official, but I just think they wanted to be the first ones to let it out.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I'm in no rush at all. But yeah, just talk to them and then get a date that I can put it out or whatever.
Easy. That'll be sweet.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
All right.
Cheers, bud. Thanks a mil.